Welcome to my Christmas show. This is Kollecting Kaos, and my name is James. And it's not coffee tonight. I'm drinking water. Because it's not Coffee with Chaos. It's my Christmas Eve show. I've got some comics that I can show you. I've got my scan are the things that I pressed. I can show you those. And then later on, I plan on opening it up if there's anybody here to invite anyone that wants to come on to do so. In other words, I'm going to have a little bit later, I'm going to have like an open mic. I'll post the link and you can join me here on the show if anybody wants to. I'm going to go ahead and start with what I do every Wednesday night. And that is what I scanned this weekend or this week. I won't be showing everything I scanned. Now, I'm using the older computer. I'm using the one that I normally would use. But I'm also logged in on the other computer. So if there's a problem, I can just switch the camera over to the other computer and log back in real quick. So it shouldn't be a problem if this freezes up. I haven't had any trouble with it today, but that doesn't mean I won't. It's still giving me trouble. I ordered a new fan, cooling fan for the CPU, and I got it. And it won't work because it's the one I need is older, so I have to order another one. Yeah, I can send that one back, but I'm probably going to build another computer next year, so I'll just hang on to it. So let's get started with with what I scanned this week, starting with Carnage Black, White, and Blood, number 3, with the John McCrae cover. It is, of course, a variant. And that's from 2021. And here's Korg 70,000 BC number 5. That's a Pat Boyette cover, newsstand, and it's from 1976. Here's a new talent showcase in number 5. Louis Scarborough Jr. did the cover on that, and that's from 1984. And we have Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, number 57. Nice little Kurt Swan cover there. Of course, it features Supergirl on it, and this is from 1961. Here's Dark Horse Presents, number 36. Chris Warner did the artwork on that cover, and that's from 1990. Here's Gorgo, number 14. Bill Montez did the cover on that and it was it has a cover date of 1963. August 1963 is the cover date. Next up, I have Classics Illustrated number 26-165. This is the 12th printing of Frankenstein. Yeah, but it's still old. Even though it's a 12th print, it's from 1962. And Norman Saunders did that beautiful painted cover on there. Next, I have Godzilla vs. Barkley, number 1. Dave Dorman did the cover. And those of you that like Star Wars comics, Dave Dorman did a lot of the old Dark Horse Star Wars in the 90s. Covers for those. And this was came out in 1993. I wasn't going to include this one, but I just really like the cover. Crossfire and Rainbow. This is number 2, and that is a Paul Gulacy cover from 1986. Next up, I'm always going to show these. This is Alien Worlds, number 4. Of course, Dave Stevens did the cover on that from 1983. Next, we have from Charlton Comics, The Phantom, number 30. And I believe this was the first Charlton Phantom. I think before that it was Gold Key. And that is from 1969. Next we have The Best of Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck. And of course that's a Gold Key comic from 1968 in the Carl Barks cover. Michael, how you doing? Just here browsing. Good to see you. Next we have The Captain and the Kids from 1950. I have no idea who did the cover. It turned out really nice, though. Brew, number 66. Sergio Argons, of course. And that's from 1990. We have Classics Illustrated Junior. This is number 556 of -576. Bill Walsh did the artwork on that cover. And it's this particular printing is from 1968. Crossfire and Rainbow, number 4, another Dave Stevens cover. And that is not on my list. I don't know why. Let's see if I can read it. It's from 1983. Got Alien Worlds, number 5. John Bolton artwork on that cover from 1983. I don't know. That one's in pretty low grade. But I pressed it and made it look pretty. There's Jungle Jim, number 24 from Charlton Comics. Pat Boyette again did the cover on that from 1969. Yeah, isn't that great? I think I might have gotten this from you, Michael. I don't remember. Land of the Giants, number 5, with a photo cover. I don't remember if I got that from you or not, but it's from 1969. Here's Tom and Jerry Comics, number 108. And this is from 1953. It has some stuff on it. I may try to clean it up a little better, but it turned out nice. Brew number 66, of course, Sergio Aragon's, and that's from 1980. And I have to show this, even though I kind of don't want to show American flag anymore. But I have to show you this one. This is American flag number 50, which was the last issue of the first run of the first volume. So I figured I'd go ahead and show that. It's from 1988. Howard Shakin did the artwork on it. One more. Classics Illustrated Junior, number 557. Silly Willy and Mike Sikowski did the artwork on this. In 1958. This is a first print. And it might be one of the best looking Classics Illustrated Juniors I own. Patrick, glad to see you. Glad you could stop in. You might end up with it if I decide to get rid of it. Before I go any further, let me show you what I got myself for Christmas. Now, I showed my Airboy comics, and I noticed that I was missing 6 of them. And one of those was number 47, so I got it. Needs a press. And I didn't need number 15, but I got it anyway, because it was a good deal. But I did need number 14. Got that. And I needed number 13. And I needed number 6. That's 5 of them. Only need one more. And this is a 2-4 for me because it not only fills the gap in my Airboy collection, but it's a Dave Stevens that I didn't have, number 5. So I have all the Airboys now from Eclipse, and those were the only ones I wanted. I took a look at the newer ones. I'm not impressed. But when I was looking for those, I found something else that I decided I had to have, and that's the Alter Ego with the Dave Stevens Airboy cover. So I got them for myself for Christmas. But I got more. I got a box. I got a box that I haven't opened. Somebody will recognize it, I'm sure. Should I open it now or wait till tomorrow? If you want me to open it now, type in what's in the box. Yeah, it does that to me. Like I said, comment what's in the box if you want me to open it now. I don't know why it does that sometimes. Oh, behind me I have Lois Lane number 1, Super Richie number 1, and Hawkman number 1. Why is that camera out of focus? Let's try this. This usually works. There we go. What's in the box? Let's find out. Let's find out. I usually have boxes open beforehand, but I decided to wait on this one. But then I forgot who packed it and realized that it might be harder to get into than I thought. Good stuff. I'll shred it up and use it. Shred that up and use it. Let's see what we got here. Blue tape. Comic books. And it looks like, yeah. Looks like he used some of my stuff. That bubble wrap looks real familiar. Now, I really don't know what's in here. I do trade with Michael Mayron, and of course he's in the chat, and he knows what's in here because he sent it to me. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Absolutely. Let's see. Well, that's cool. A Pizza Hut comic. Real Heroes from Pizza Hut. I used to work at Pizza Hut many years ago. Back in the 1973, 1974, I worked for Pizza Hut. I was a waiter. I did pretty good. Here's one I've actually been looking for. The Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, #1 from Archie. And Wild Times, Gen 13. I might have that. I know I had it at one time. I don't know if I still do or not. Silver Star. We've got #2 and #3. I have all of the Silver Stars. I don't need these. Don't need any more of those. I might throw them in the box and send them back to him. Adventures of Superman, $4.95. I think I'm missing that one. Ambush Bug, #1. Atari Force #16 and #14. #11 and #10. #8 and #5. #4 and #3. I think I have #1 and 2 somewhere. DC Focus #1 from 1987. And Swamp Thing 86. I don't have a whole lot of that Swamp Thing run. Swamp Thing #5 and #4. Vigilante #1 from 1995. Yeah, I might have enough to do that. I very well might have enough to put it on my reading list. Graphic Man Comics, glad to see you. Glad you could stop in. We'll put this off to the side to send it back to him. That knife will cut about everything but plastic. It doesn't like plastic for some reason. The conservation of Zorro is coming along nicely. I'll be putting, I don't know if I'm going to release the video Friday morning or Saturday morning. It depends on if I feel like doing anything tomorrow. If I don't feel like doing anything tomorrow, it'll be Saturday morning. Let's see, we've got Yogi Bear number 10 with a really bad water stain on it, but it's a Charlton, so it's going to live with the water stain because I don't like messing with Charlton comics when it comes to that sort of thing. Superman Family, number 217, which, of course, at one time was Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen before it changed its name. Then I've got Korak, son of Tarzan Family, which was Korak, son of Tarzan, before it became the Tarzan Family. That's number 63. Oh, a nice Charlton here. Battlefield Action number 74. That's from 1982. And this one it's like 1968. Yeah, Attack at Sea. Also Charlton. Charlton did an awfully lot of war comics. They did Fighting Army, Fighting Navy, Fighting Marines, Fighting Air Force, Battlefield Action, Attack at Sea. They did all kinds of them. And it was one of their best sellers. We've got PEP 214 with a chunk missing out of the cover. I'm not too worried about that. It's still, I still can read it. And I do read Archie comics, by the way. Jughead number 147. Archie and Me 24. And Reggie and Me 28. These look like they're a little bit older. Thinking late 60s, early 70s. Here's Laugh 218 and 197. Let's take a look. 1969. I said late 60s, early 70s. So you got Timmy the Timid Ghost, number 23, and he puts a little tag on there when there's a problem that he wants to bring to my attention. Bottom edge chip, I'm assuming he means right here. I don't worry too much about that. Well, this is from the 70s, so. $13 going on $18. Detached cover, detached first wrap. I actually have another one of these, not this particular issue, but I do have another 13 going on 18. We've got Archie's Madhouse with no number. So that's got me curious. In around 1962, Western Publishing, which published Gold Key Comics, decided they were no longer going to be a part of. This is number 33, by the way. They were no longer going to be a part of Dell, so they took all of their characters that they had licensed, Western had licensed, and started Gold Key. And Dell was left with no comics, so they created a bunch of them, like this, Dell 13 going on 17 or 18, and Combat and a bunch of others. But that's why from 1962 to the late 60s, early 70s, Dell published really off-the-wall stuff that you've never heard of before. Before that, they did things like Marge's Tubby, which there might be something wrong with it. I don't know, because that doesn't say anything. And here's the Beagle Boys. And probably from the 50s, looks like number 25, Woody Woodpecker. Could be from the 40s, but I think it's from the 50s. And a Bugs Bunny from roughly the same time frame, I would say. No, it didn't. Well, actually, it does. It says Archie's Madhouse. But yeah, Beagle Boys and Tubby. And then I'm going to open this and see about what year it is. I'm thinking mid, possibly early 50s. Could be late 40s, but I don't think it's that old. I might be way off. I'm just judging by the Dell stamp up there. 1954. And 1953. Unknown Comics. And I judge those, like I said, early to mid 50s is what I said. So pretty accurate on that stuff. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Get to add those into a box. Now, I'm going to do 1,000 giveaway if I ever hit 1,000 subscribers. So I consider, if you click that like button, subscribe if you aren't, and it doesn't cost you anything, and it would help me out a lot. Actually, it'd help the channel out. I don't get paid to do this. I don't make money off YouTube. I don't worry about making money off YouTube. But I would like more and more people to see what I have to say, what I have to offer. So let me show you so far what I've got for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Actually, there's 2 more comments I pressed that I forgot to show you. So I'll show you that first. I went ahead and pressed Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It came out pretty nice. I have boards. I don't have the bags. I'm out of bags for this size. And I went ahead and pressed the Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera, the Flintstones Christmas Party. And that turned out really nice also. I may have to show how I pressed those someday. So what do we got here? We got, I have them up here. What do I plan on giving away? So far for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway, I have Alien Worlds #2, Dave Stevens cover. I have a copy of Black Beauty #60, L.B. Cole cover and interior art. I have a third print of Liberty Meadows #1. Batman Son of the Demon trade paperback, which has the first appearance of Damian Wayne. So, that by itself is like $100 book. And I discovered I had 2 of these, so I'm going to put that in there too. So I will put one of these in there as well. That is going to go in the 1,000 subscriber giveaway as well. I'll press it. I'll make it look pretty. As pretty as it can look. Now, one of the things I got to thinking about over the last week or so was the price of comics and how they just keep going up and up and up. Why? There's no reason for them to go up like that, except they're not getting the sales they need to sustain the prices. So I picked a couple of comics, and we're going to look through them, and we're going to look at the advertising that's in them. And the first one I picked was a DC comic. This is DC versus Vampires #1. And it came out in, 2021 maybe? Yeah, 2021. And I want to look at the advertising that's in it, because advertising can bring the cost down, because people have to pay the publisher to advertise in their magazine or their comic. So let's take a look here. Okay. That one probably they got paid for. Let's see. Oh, here's an advertisement for Justice League Incarnate. That is a house ad. They don't get paid for house ads. Oh, One Dark Night, another house ad. Diecast. I got something to show you if I can remember what I did with it. I always lose stuff. Foundation Fortnite. Yeah, it's another house ad. Well, here you go. The Other History of the DC Universe. A double-page house ad. Let's see. We'll keep going. Robbins. Yet another house ad that they won't get paid for. Batman and Robin. Yeah, they're not going to get paid for that one either. You see the problem? If they're not getting paid for the advertising. Oh, Task Force Z, as I remember, that's a DC comic, so they didn't get paid for that. Uh, they might get paid for this, but I doubt it. The Suicide Squad on video, because the reason I doubt it is because it's part of Warner Brothers and it's still basically a house ad. So yeah, all that advertising space, they don't make money off of it. Well, they might make money, but they don't make money off of the advertising. So let's take a look at this. This is a comic book from 1979. It's not worth anything, really. It's just a newsstand, Savage She-Hulk #1. So let's see here. Right up there in the first, Crossman Guns. Yeah, they got paid for that one. You can guarantee it. Hubba Bubba ad. Yeah, they got paid to put that in there. How about a poster ad and a Kawasaki ad? Yeah, they got paid for that too. An advertisement for Heroes World and for MPC. And that's a model kit. Doubles page Kenner advertisement. You can bet they got paid a lot for that one. Here's a house ad, so they don't get paid for that. But, you know, one house ad so far, that's not too bad. Classified advertising, they get paid for that. This is an advertisement also for a Rom Parker Brothers game. So that's a Parker Brothers advertisement, and they would get paid for that. Yeah, what kid doesn't want a Kawasaki? Now, Bullpen Bulletins, kind of a house ad because it advertises what's coming out. So I'm going to count that as a house ad. So that's 2 house ads so far. Not bad. Okay, Epic, as in Epic Comics. So that's 3 house ads compared to all of the others. There's another page of a classified advertisement and a page for Corgi toys. And on the back, they have an advertisement for Lego. This comic was 40 cents. I suspect if they were to sell advertising in comics again, they could probably get the price down to $1.50 for a comic book. That's my opinion. Let's see what we got here. Now, if anybody wants to come on, I need to get... let's see if I can find this. I have to look at the other computer for a second. Let's see. Oh, great. It's not showing the way I want it to. Oh, well, I can't get it to do that. Um, if anybody wants to join me in there's the link. Michael, could you do me a favor and pin that? Just right click on it and pin it. I can't do it because I can't get to. When I look at it, it doesn't show me the chat. DC has one universe. They have determined that there's only one universe for DC, and it's an all-encompassing everything universe now. Unless they changed it again since last year, which they probably did. But really, if you think about it, basically there's Vertigo, which used to be Vertigo, Elseworlds, and which they got rid of. They got rid of Elseworlds. They got rid of Vertigo. So they have Black Label and they have the regular DC. Oh, you can't do it either because you're on the phone. Okay, let me see what I can do. Maybe I can get it done. Maybe not. All right, I got it. I got it pinned. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Ryan. I went through and I deleted just about all of my, and I didn't mean to delete yours. It just happened. It was an accident, but I finally got it back. Just took me a little while. Hope you have a great Christmas, and don't work too hard this weekend. I really need to go visit Ryan over in Card Shop Reality. His store, it's pretty close. It's only half a state away or so. About 6 hour drive, something like 6 or 7 hour drive, something like that. So I keep promising I'm going to come visit him, and I never have. Yeah, so anybody that wants to join me is welcome to come on and we chat. You can show something if you want. You can tell everybody Merry Christmas or anything you want to do. Happy Hanukkah, Festivus for the rest of us, or whatever it is. Oh, is that on the 2nd? Oh, I'm going to miss that one too. I don't know. Maybe. I'll have to see how long it'll take me to get there. But if I go to a big convention like that, I'm going to want to spend money, and I really don't need to be spending money. I spend too much already. especially if I want to buy all the stuff to build a new computer. Building a computer isn't expensive. I can build a really nice computer for about $300-400, but then I have to put memory in it, and that's going to cost me close to $1,000 because the price on memory is ridiculous right now. And the reason it's gotten so out of hand is because the reason it's gotten out of hand is that it's all gotten to it's all going to AI. So the people that build computers as a hobby or even as a small business are kind of screwed. Yeah, there's a couple of decent shows here from what I understand. I haven't been to any of them. Like I said, I'm afraid I'll spend money. I don't need to be spending money. I spend too much already. There's 2 comic books I want to get in 2026. I want to get Superman number 24, I think it is, because it's my all-time favorite Superman cover. And I'm not talking about from the 90s. I'm talking about from the 40s. And that's up, $1,000 to $2,000 easy. And there's another one, and I forgot which one it was. But there's a second one I want to get, and I'll tell you what it is as soon as I remember it. Oh, it's not that big when you live in the middle of it, which I do. I live almost smack dab in the middle of it, a little bit east of the middle. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm going to be showing a Classics Illustrated next week also, a Classics Illustrated Junior. That's not a first print, but it's a big one. It's another L.B. Cole. L.B. Cole did a lot of work for Classics Illustrated. In fact, L.B. Cole in the late 50s became uh, the editorial director for Gilbertson or Classics Illustrated. And yeah, so he did, and I think he continued into the 60s as well. Yeah, it's always better if you can buy it in person because that way you'll have it. You know exactly what you're getting. The other, yeah, Daredevil #1 is the other one that I would like to get this year or this next year, 2026, and I would take a 1 or 1.5 as long as it's complete with both covers. I don't care what the condition is. I just want to have one again. I haven't had one since the 70s, and I kind of miss it. I do collect Daredevil, but I don't want all of the Daredevils. I don't want all the new ones. I just want the first Daredevil one, the one that ended in the 90s. Of course, technically it didn't end because they keep doing legacy numbers now, which is stupid. But yeah, I don't blame you a bit for wanting to buy it in person. And I'm sure you can find a nice high grade copy, but I'm assuming you also don't want it slabbed. I'm assuming you want it raw. because a Daredevil 158, if you can't look at the interior art, you're missing 90% of the comic. I'll be cracking this as soon as I decide I'm good enough to fix the spine, because it has a spine split going all the way down. This was my goal for last year, getting this. Took me almost a whole year before I found what I could afford. So let's move these back off to the side. They do not go with the. I don't want to put my She-Hulk. I don't want to do a giveaway of my She-Hulk #1. It's the only one I have. Merry Christmas to you too. And we're just going to chat. I mean, whatever you guys want to talk about is fine. As long as you want to go. If you got someplace to go, that's fine. I got no place to be. Of course, I could be working on comics. I'm going to have to change the blotting paper. If you are doing cleaning and pressing and you're doing any kind of wet cleaning at all for comics, get some blotting paper. The pages that I've been cleaning for that Zorro, amazing. When I use paper towels, it takes a day and a half to dry. Blotting paper, 8 hours, it's done. It's dry. Merry Christmas to you also. Second monitors are good. We're good with that. It's only a 1.5, but hey, and it has a spine split that goes all the way down, so I'll crack it eventually. I probably won't show when I do this one. Yeah, I think it is. And then I got this year also, or this past year also. And I found this while looking for a Lois Lane, and I went, yeah, that's a good price. I'll buy it. That's also a #1. And I believe I got the Atom #1 this year, and his first appearance in Showcase as well. Those are in kind of rough shape, and they need some help. And I don't have them handy. And I got this one too. This is also a #1. Yeah, why not? And I finished my Liberty Meadows this past year. I also finished my Liberty Meadows collection. I finished my Airboy collection, and some other smaller collections I finished. So I had a pretty good year this year. Yes, My favorite era, yes. No, I love the Silver Age because that's what I read when I was young, when I was a boy growing up. But I like Golden Age also, you know, and uh, 50, late 50s, early 60s are my favorites. Mostly DC. I owned almost all the Marvels from that time frame at one point, so I don't really care that much about them, except for a few. So Silver Age mostly, Bronze Age a little bit. Uh, I made a lot of money in the early Bronze Age off comics. Unfortunately, I spent a lot of money in it too, so it helped. Uh, I like a lot of the independents that came out in the 80s, in the 70s and 80s. I like a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I like pretty much all ages of comics. You know, I like comic books. What can I say? You know, I like Harvey. I like Archie. I like DC. I like Marvel. Although I'm not a huge Marvel collector, I do like them. I don't like the prices on the new comics, which is why I don't buy a whole lot of them. But I get a lot of them, and I get them secondhand mostly. Yeah, that's you. I'm more of a 15-cent Bronze Age guy. 20 centers are good too. Uh, I want to try. I don't know if I'm going to try to do that in 2026 or not. I might try to get fill in all the gaps of my Superman and my action comics and my adventure comics for 1961 to 1970. I don't know yet if I'm going to try to do that or not. But it would be cool. I have a lot of them. I have most of them, but I'm missing a lot too. Like Elf Quest, that's Bronze Age. Yeah, Bronze Age, Bronze, Copper, and Modern. Uh, I like. I liked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I sold them all because I liked the money better. You know, and somebody's going to offer you like $400 or $500 for 6 comic books. You take it. Uh, if it's something that you don't think you absolutely have to have, you just go ahead and take it. And so I did. I love the treasury size, the large size editions, like these. I love these. I've got a whole bunch of them. I'm missing about 15 of the DC and probably 20 of the Marvel. So those would be good to fill out, but it's not something I worry about. Those are some of those things. They come through my hands and stop. That's kind of the way I collect Wolverine and X-Men. Comes in my hands and stops because I'm not selling them right now. I've sold too many that I shouldn't have sold, and I don't necessarily like them. I just have a boatload of them. It's like the Punisher. I can't stand the Punisher. He's a ripoff of the Executioner. I've never liked the Punisher. I have probably 2 short boxes full of Punisher comics. Not because I want them, it's because every time I buy comics, there's a bunch of Punisher in there. What can you do? You end up with them. And people say, well, if you're going to collect, you got to have Spider-Man 129 and you got to have Hulk 181. And no, I had those. I don't have them anymore. I don't care about them. I've probably owned, I've owned 5 or 6 copies of Spider-Man 129 during my lifetime, and I've sold every one of them. Don't care about it. I've owned probably 6 or 8 copies of Hulk 181, and I sold them all because I don't care about it. If I was going to try to get all of the Incredible Hulk run, yeah, then I would want a copy, but not at the overinflated prices they're at right now. And to me, that's exactly what they are. They're overinflated. I think some of those comics, they're priced that high because people think they're rare, and they aren't. There's very few rare comics. That's all there is to it. There just aren't that many rare comics. Amazing Fantasy 15 isn't rare. If you go to any big comic show, you're going to see half a dozen copies of it, at least, possibly more. You might see a half a dozen copies at one dealer. Same thing with Hulk 181. Same thing with Amazing Spider-Man 129 and Spider-Man 101. These are not rare comics. They should not be pulling down the huge amounts of money that people are charging for them. But they do. So I'm not going to worry about it. It's not something that I need in my collection. Yeah, I remember a Washington, D.C. warehouse find back in the early 70s. And what it had in it was Silver Surfer #1, #2, #3, #4, #5. And we were pulling off stacks of them like this and tossing them away because they weren't perfect. And then we'd take the center of the bundles, and those were the ones we would take. And, you know, the guy, yeah, $50 you can take the pallet, you know, because it was paper. No dealer, present company excluded, Ryan, but dealers are crazy. Some of them are, and others are just, well, this is the price that everybody else is charging for it. I'd be an idiot to charge that, not to charge that much for it. And that's what is driving the price. The collectors are not driving those prices. The dealers are driving those prices. And I'm, you know, Ryan, Card Shop Reality, he is a dealer, and I understand his business model because I've been there. You have to make money. When you buy a lot of comics, say you buy 1,000 comics, and you only pay like 10 or 15 cents a piece for them. People are thinking, you ripped that guy off. You only paid 10 or 15 cents a piece for it. But you might have one comic book out there that you can sell out of that 1,000 that maybe will get you your money back, probably not. If you're lucky, you might sell 15 or 20 and get your money back. It's just the way it is. That's the way it is. You buy 1,000 comics for 15 cents a piece, you put them in your dollar bin and hope they sell. There you go. But you know what your market will bear. You know how much your market will pay for a comic. Good point. Yeah. For a while, I had a big postal scale that I bought used, and it was no longer in use by the post office, that particular one, because it didn't hook up to anywhere. It was just the old style scale. But it was a good scale. And people bring me comics, and I'd say, how old are they? Oh, they're really old, man. I said, anything before 1970? or before 19, I think at the time it was like 1975. Uh, no, but they're old. And well, if it's not before 1975, they go on the scale. And that's how I bought them. I was buying them by the pound. If the current market, or if the current paper price at the recycler was 12 cents a pound, I would pay 15 to 20 cents a pound. And that's how I bought old comics. Now, if they said, yes, here's some from the early 70s, those I would stop and look at. Those I would go through. From the 60s, I would go through. From the 50s, I would go through. Yeah. But that's the way I did it. And that was the only business model that made sense to me, because I knew I was going to be selling these for $1 to $2 at most, and probably less than that. And I had one comic. I had like there was an X-Men comic, and don't ask me what number was, because I don't remember. But in the 90s, it was about a $20 book, according to Wizard. It was about a $20 book. I had like 15 or 20 of them, and I had them marked at like $9 or $10 each. And some of them were $9, some were 10, some were 8. You know, it just depended on when I got them, because I would price it and put it in the back issue bin, and I didn't raise the price. It stayed that price until it sold. So a guy said, "Hey, you know this is a $20 comic?" And I went, "It is? How much do I have it for?" He said, $9. And I went, "Then it's a $9 comic." He said, "No, this is in Wizard, it's $20. And I went, "Well, are you going to buy it?" "No." "Why not? It's only $9. You can turn a profit. It's a Wizard. It says 20. Buy it for 9. He went, "Yeah, but I have a copy." And I went, then it must be a $9 comic. I tell you what, bring that one and all the rest of them up here. And he did, and I marked them all $5 a piece. Put them back, and they still didn't sell. And that's exactly what it is. Comics by the pound. And then later on, you can sell them by the pound. You know, you can have a big sale, $5 a pound, you know, and you'll sell a lot of comics that way. Yeah. That's happened so many times. Unfortunately, a lot of times it happens where I don't have it, but I don't remember that I don't have it. Or I know I have it, but I have no idea where it is. Yeah. I like going to a comic store, and I'll start talking, and other people in the store just look at me like, "Wow, he knows so much." And I think back when I first started collecting, and I talked to these guys that had been into collecting for 10 or 15 years, and I was thinking at the time, "Wow, this guy knows so much," and now I am that guy. But one of the comic shops that I go to occasionally, I haven't been there in a couple of years, but I used to go regularly. Uh, he'd ask me, "What would you grade this at?" Just looking at the cover, and I'd glance at it and tell him. And he went, "You know, I spent 20 minutes figuring that out." And I went, "Yeah, well, you got to learn." It's terrible when you have a dealer or a comic shop owner that doesn't know enough about grading comics to just look at it quick, get an estimate of the grade, and then you go through it and grade it more accurately. When I say estimate, I mean you look at this and say, "Okay, that's a mid-grade comic, maybe fine." But then later you go through each page and you determine, is it really fine? Is it better? Is it worse? You check the cover a little more closely, you check the spine a little more closely, and you get a more accurate grade. I just go high grade, mid grade, low grade, no grade. And no grade is comic that's missing anything. If it's missing more than about a half an inch of the cover, half inch square of the cover, it's no grade. If it's missing a coupon, it's no grade. If it's missing a stamp, no grade. The Marvel value stamp, if it's missing, it's no grade. If it's missing a page, it's no grade, whether it affects the story or not. And the thing is, those comics do have grades that you can put them in, even if they're missing a page that doesn't affect the story. But for me, it's no grade because it's missing part of the comic. If a comic came with a card and the card is missing, that means it's missing part of the comic, which is one of the problems that I have with graded comics that came with a promotional card. It doesn't have the card, therefore it's incomplete. Somebody just bought, didn't somebody just buy Beckett? CBCS does a pretty good job. The comics from CBCS that I've seen are pretty accurate from what I can see. Of course, I can't see everything. CGC is the one I would like to rip on in person. Oh, okay. I misunderstood. I didn't read it correctly. I thought it said something else. PSA just started their own line of grading. Why would they buy Beckett? It's a shame because I like Beckett, and I was going to send some cards off to Beckett to get graded. But if they're going to be going to PSA, there's no way I'd do that. Yeah. What I said is if a comic book is missing a page that does not affect the story, I would still give it a no grade because it's an incomplete comic. The story is complete, so technically, if you go strictly by Overstreet, it's in good condition. Might only be a 1 or 1.5, but it'd still be a good condition comic. But because it's incomplete in my eyes, I consider it no grade. Anything below a 0.5 is no grade. So a 0.3 and a 0.1, which are comics without covers and comics that are missing pages or pieces, are to me no grade. That's just the way I think. Let me take a look at my cheat sheet here. Yeah, they have 0.3 for Overstreet that says books that are coverless but otherwise complete or covers missing their interiors. I got a couple of covers that are missing the interiors. And then 0.1 is coverless comics missing pages. I got some of those too. I use them for experiments. Uh, one quarter back cover gone can get a 1.0 according to Overstreet. But I don't agree with that. I'm a pretty harsh grader. Yeah, I'm horrible when it comes to grading comics. I don't think I've seen maybe four, maybe five, 4 or 5 in the 50 to 60 years that I've been dealing with comic books. I've seen maybe 4 or 5 that I would consider to be a 10.0. And one of them is in my collection right now. Yes, I would, even though it's technically conserved because that color touch can be removed. I would still consider it restoration. But then I don't have a problem with restored comics. I'm, you know, give it the grade that it deserves, restored. So, like that Archie Pep 158 I did a little bit of color touch on. That's completely, everything can be undone. Technically, it's conserved, but I would consider it restored because I did do some color touch. Although I didn't do any color touch on the actual comic itself. The only color touch I did was on the fill from the pulp fill that I did on it. But I would still consider that restored. But like I said, I don't have a problem with restored comics as long as I know it's restored. And there are restored comics that you could take that Pep 158, you could take everything I did to it off of it with water very easily, which means you could have it conserved. You could change it to conserved. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. A restored comic, basically, if it's restored properly, just means it's going to last a whole lot longer. Same thing with conserved. It's expensive. It's not that hard to find. It's just pricey. Because he is a retailer and he would need to be totally honest with people and say, look, this has been conserved, this has been restored, this has been pressed, this has been cleaned. I'm sure he would do all of that. Yeah, but I have that Pep in the other room where I would show you what I did to it. There's two grades. There's restoration and there's conservation. Conservation is like reattaching the cover, stuff like that, and it can be reversed. But anytime you start getting into the color area, even if you're only doing it on a part that has been added because of conservation, it's still technically restoration. You cannot do color touch without it being restoration. It's just the way it is. Even a poster, when they do posters, when they start doing the color touch and the fills and stuff like that, that's called restoration. Even though it's 99% of the time it's reversible. Classical paintings that are conserved, they aren't considered restored. They're considered conserved because it's all reversible. And that's the difference. If it's reversible, it's conserved. If it isn't, it's restored. But in order to be reversible, that means you have to be able to take it back to its original state before the conservation started. Now, with that Pep 158, it will never be able to go back to its original state before it started because there's a very minor color loss on the cover. Not a lot, just a little tiny bit, but enough for me to put it in a restored category rather than a conserved category. Technically, yeah, it is. Because that's not reversible. However, if it's done properly, it doesn't hurt the comic. Pressing cannot, if done properly, is not reversible. But conservation work generally allows for things like leaf casting. That's allowed because it's reversible. Um, Using Tengujo or rice paper or mulberry paper, that's allowed because it's reversible if you use proper glue, which is wheat paste or wheat starch based or rice starch based or uh, something like that. That's reversible. That's why it's called conservation, because you're adding to the book, but it's something that can be removed easily, and I enjoy doing it. That's why I'm working on some. When I go in and I remove stains from books, like the papers or the pages in that uh, Zorro that I'm working on right now, every one of them had a watermark on it. Notice I said had, because those watermarks don't appear on them. Every one of them had a stain from the staple. Only one of them still does, and that's because I haven't started working on the one yet. But yeah, leaf casting is not considered restoration because it's reversible. Even though it adds to the comic, it's obvious that it was added to the comic. And that's because you can see it's generally white or off-white or real close color match. But you can tell that it's been added on. And it is reversible, therefore it's considered conservation and not restoration. But let's face it, conservation is nothing more than a lesser form of restoration. Yeah, Superman 24 from the 40s. I've never owned it, and I want it. And I'm planning on having one by the end of next year. Yeah, I have an older comic that's brittle that I want to work on it, but at the same time, I don't want to work on it until I'm more experienced. And that's why I still have the Lois Lane in the slab, because I don't feel that I'm not confident enough in my ability to put it back together and make it and do it right to take it out of the slab yet. Yeah, it's probably my favorite Superman cover of all time. James, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you, buddy. And like I said, if anybody wants to jump in, the link is up in the pin to the top. You can go ahead and jump in and wish everybody a whatever, show something that you got that you're happy with. I don't have a problem with that. Hopefully one day, Ryan, I'll be one of those people that you will trust. I'm working on it. I've had people ask me, why don't you do bigger books? Because I'm not comfortable with doing the lower grade books yet. Trust me on present. Hey, that's a start. I'm sure if I lived closer, I'd be pressing comics for you quite a bit. So I've thought about moving to Louisiana. I like Louisiana, always have. But I don't know. I don't think I can ever find places cheap as what I live in right now. It's not hard, but it does take a little bit of practice. Right now, I'm pressing about 35 comics a week. Most 99% of it's part of my collection. Some of it, once I have everything cataloged, will not be in part of my collection. This one, let's see, where is it? What did I do with them? That's not good. Yeah, this one I pressed. It had some dimples and dings that I wasn't happy with. It turned out all right. It's not perfect, but it turned out all right. And I've been experimenting with pressing newer comics as well. Yeah, PC comics, but I have AC comics. I have a lot of AC comics. I have a lot of First comics. I have a lot of AC comics. I have a full run of the Atlas comics. I'm closing in on a full run of PC. I'm missing, I think, about 6 or 7 PC comics now. Hey, AC comics are good too, though. So you know, those are all the ones with the good girl reprints. Matter of fact, when I finally finish here and I log off, I have to go take a comic out of the press and put a new one in. My press runs 24 hours a day. The biggest part about pressing comics is use a little steam on the cover. Clean it first. Use a little steam on the cover. Not a lot, just enough to make it a little damp. Press it, and go online and look at like 40 different people that are telling you this is how you press comics, and then put something together based on that. Because everybody has their own way of doing it. And then after you press it, let it sit in the press for a minimum of 3 to 4 hours, preferably 6 to 8 or more. Take it out of the hot press or heat press and put it into a cold press. Now you can do that with a couple of boards and some some clamps. That doesn't take much. And leave it in there for 3 or 4 days, and you will never have a reversion. If you can do that, and what a reversion is you've pressed a comic and you're real happy with it, and 3 days later, it looks like you didn't press it at all. But if you put it in a cold press after the heat press and let it sit for a couple of days, you won't have a reversion. I haven't had a reversion on a comic book in probably 3 years. I take it back. I had one. I had a spine roll revert, and that's because I was in a hurry and didn't do it right. The best way to do it, I mean, I showed how you can get out of a spine roll using those and a cold press and a humidity chamber. But I left out the part where I could do the cold press. That's why it reverted on me. I didn't cold press it first to get the spine back to where I needed it before I hot pressed it. And it reverted on me because of that. And it reverted on me in the hot press. So it just didn't turn out right. I'll probably go back and redo it eventually. And like I said, my drink of the day, water. Because I didn't feel like making tea. And I didn't feel like plugging the coffee pot back in. So, water's good. I like water. Of course, I have some RC in the refrigerator. I could have drank some of that. But, I buy a liter RC, and then 2 months later I go buy another one because it just doesn't taste good anymore. I don't think I've finished. I don't think I've finished an actual liter of RC or any other soda in 4 or 5 years. I don't drink a lot of soda. Yeah, pressing comics is not hard. It's a matter of getting it to do it the way you want it to do. Cleaning comics is not that difficult. Dry cleaning is easy, really. It takes a light touch. I also use, I do a damp cleaning, what I call a damp cleaning. It's not really a wet cleaning because I'm just a little bit on the surface, but I don't soak. I don't soak it, so I consider that like a damp cleaning. A little soap on it, get it off. Put a little water on it, get it off. And for that, I use distilled water. And then dry it and polish it out with a cotton round. And once that's done, front and back, and check the inside to see if it has any problems. Then off to the press it goes. Don't care about either one. I just don't care about Galactus. As for Wolverine, the only good Wolverines were 1 through 4 by Frank Miller. And those were the best Wolverines. I actually like that series. Unfortunately, I can't find my number 1. I must have sold it and don't remember. And that book's getting a little pricey, and I'm going to have to buy another one. or just wait till it runs through my hands. That's fair. Yeah, Chris Claremont's a nice guy. I have a set of 4 comics, or is it 6? Either 4 or 6. I think it's 4 that I'd like to get Alex Ross to sign. It's a Terminator series. His first professional work was as Alexander Ross, and it was Terminator 1 through 4. I don't really need it. I have a Superman print signed by him, so I guess that's good enough. I don't much care about signatures on comics, and when I do get a comic signed, my preferred place for a signature is right here, or on the back. Okay, I can't argue with that. There, mic drop. What can you do? But then again, I'm old, so that's the way we had comics signed back in late '60s, early '70s, probably right up until the '80s. That's how comic books were signed, on the inside. Just like when you get a book signed, it's signed on the inside. Here's an interesting idea for you. Comics, technically magazines, because they come out periodically, so they're called periodicals or magazines. Originally, periodicals or magazines generally have one printing, and then they go to the next issue. With the multiple prints of comics now, which are being done, that puts them more in the category of a book than a magazine. So my thoughts on pricing comic there's 2 things I think they should do for comic books to bring down the cost of the comics. Number 1, get advertising back, not the in-house advertising that's in all the books, but toy advertisements, whatever, bicycles, BB guns, toys, whatever, get those back into comics. Have an offering of classified ads in comics again. That would give them ad revenue. And go back to 1, maybe 2 covers if it's really special per comic. And that would decrease the cost of the comic and therefore allow them to make more money at a lower price. Swamp Picker, glad you could stop in. Now, that's my personal opinion, and it might not be right. Yeah. And people can disagree with me. I don't mind. I like it when people disagree with me because it shows me that they care. You never will. Everything is house ads now. Everything is in-house ads. Like they're afraid to advertise for toys. You know, if your target audience is children, advertise toys. If your target audience is adults, advertise adult toys. You know, what would be wrong with advertising a Dell computer in a comic book? Not that kind of adult toys, Patrick. That kind of adult toy. I guess it's possible, but really, what they did so much that the advertising is still there. It's just all in house. You know, back in the 70s and 80s, they would advertise Dungeons and Dragons. Why not? Why not advertise for other publishing companies for books? You get a best. You got a fantasy novel that goes to the bestseller list. Well, yeah, get somebody. If it's a fantasy novel that an adult might enjoy or an older teen might enjoy, put it in a comic book saying, "Hey, look, we got this book. It's really good. You should try it." Well, I've got this toy also. I mean, I got that one too. Advertise for a restaurant, a fast food restaurant. Why can't McDonald's or Burger King? Well, maybe not McDonald's. I don't like McDonald's. Burger King or Pizza Hut or Popeye's Chicken advertise in a comic book. Yeah, bubble gum, candy. There you go. It's actually a legal knife. It's it's just I can flip it open. And what are they going to do? Demonetize me? I'm not monetized anyway. So what difference does that make? But yeah, there's a lot of advertising that could be done. Best advertising in the world. If you have a local area and you have classified ads in comic books and they're coming and they're targeted to go to the mid or the south, like Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, like that, a classified ad for your comic shop would be great in something like that. But they don't do classified ads in comic books anymore. And it doesn't make sense. That ad revenue, they shot themselves in the foot when they got rid of it. And really, I started to see it disappear in the late 80s, I think. when they started doing more direct marketing. And I think the direct market had quite a bit to do with the demise of the advertising in comic books. Exactly my point. If they had advertising and not house ads, but regular advertising for some of the things we talked about, toys, uh, games, classified, candy, bubblegum, you know, fruit snacks, whatever, that ad revenue could bring down the prices of the comics. I wonder if I have something from the 90s. Yeah, Green Lantern 81. We'll see what it's got. X-ray specs, that's what I'm talking about. This is 1996, DC Comics, and advertisement for it's DC panels for computers for CD-ROM. So that is technically a house ad, I think. Three Dirty Dwarves. That was a game. Acclaim. Of course, Acclaim is part of Warner Brothers, so technically, I guess that's a house ad. Action Man. That was a toy line, like similar to G.I. Joe. Johnny Quest, and it was a like a DVD or CD-ROM. Major League Baseball. Basically a candy. And the last page, of course, was house. Yeah, those are cards, collector's cards. A little bit of advertising, but nothing like they had in the earlier years. Showcase presents Doom Patrol. That's number 96, Showcase 96. So yeah, that's pretty much right. Probably the early 2000s was the end of advertising for comics, and where it went straight into full-on house ads. Although house ads were becoming more and more prevalent in the 90s. I should have one for you. I should have a Marvel or DC from the 2000s. That's a little later. There you go. There's a marble. I know I've got some in here somewhere. No, maybe not. I thought I had a bunch of them in here somewhere, but I'm not seeing any from the time frame I'm looking for. Glad you could stop in, Jackson. And Jason, haven't seen you in an age and a half. Hope you've been okay. One thing I am going to start doing sometime in 2026 is selling comics online again. But I'll be selling them on my own channel. Let's take a look at this one. Maybe this will be early enough. This is from 2005. Ultimate Spider-Man 83 from 2005. We've got X-Men Legends, Rise of the Apocalypse. And, we're looking at advertising here. That's a game, but it's Marvel Activision. So, yeah. Serial. So, 2005, they were doing advertising. There's a house ad. Technic Toys. costume company, Disguise, Campbell's Soup. So yeah, 2005 they were still doing some advertising, but not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of advertising in that, and that's this book. Check your stocking; you might have one, but I doubt it. Yeah, sometime probably mid to late January or early February is when I'll start doing my own sales online. It'll take me that long to figure out what I've got and what I'm willing to part with. Maybe. Hey, winter's over in Texas. We had what, 3 days of cold? It's pretty much over. It's been in the 70s and 80s. I've got a fan on right now. That's not a heater you hear running in the background. That's a fan. Because I have my air conditioners covered, so I can't use them. But yeah, coal is good. I'll take coal. I got no problem with coal. I'm not going to make you go back and watch the beginning. I'll just go ahead and show you my big thing that I got for myself for Christmas. This was the big thing I got myself for Christmas, Roy, or Ryan. That was my big Christmas present to myself. And then I found this for less money, but it's alter ego, so that's cool. But Dave Stevens, so yeah, can't go wrong with Dave Stevens. And I picked up the rest of the Airboys that I needed for my collection. That and I got my computer to work. That's the best Christmas present of all. I'm not using the Snowball because it has a loose connection. So I'll get myself a new mic eventually. And that'll help. Yeah, but I don't worry about it. I actually winterized my house for the first time. And those 3 days that it got really cold outside, like below freezing, I was fine. Ooh, I bought some on what do I do with it? I don't see it. I bought some cheap speakers on Amazon that were surprisingly good. Uh, they weren't very expensive at all. I bought two of them. I bought two sets because I'm expecting the ones on my other computer to go out any minute because those are like 25 years old, 30 years old. Yeah. So that's the one I got. It works pretty good. Oh, okay. Well, if you want that kind of stuff, you're talking about good speakers. I'm talking about adequate ones. I think I want to get a turntable uh, this coming year too, to add to my computer, but I don't. I have to make room for it. The nice part about living in Texas is when he says a cold front will slide through, that's exactly what he's talking about. It slides through. We get winter for 2 or 3 days, maybe, and then it gets back to a nice temperature. A cold day in Texas, when it's in the 40s, I look for a long sleeve shirt. Other than that, I don't worry about it. And like I said, I winterized my house for the first time, and it really helps a lot. I think it helped a lot that I put new weather stripping on the doors too. Weather stripping is probably 50 years old. Okay, I think it's been 2 hours. It's been great talking to everybody, and I enjoyed it a lot. But I think I'm going to cut it unless somebody else has another question or something they want to talk about. I think I'm going to cut it off and wish everybody a really happy Christmas and a wonderful New Year. And we'll see you. I'll be back. I don't know if I'll do a New Year's Eve show or not. I haven't decided yet, but I'll probably will. So take care, everybody. Have yourself a great Christmas Day, Thursday. Have yourself a great weekend. Have yourself a great New Year. And we will see you next time. Bye.